what's going on, y'all boys? Today we're going to tap into Gideon versus August the Duck again. Now look, if you're not tapped into the situation, Gideon and August the Duck are beefing right now because August the Duck made a video about Gideon, and it was basically calling him out for being a fake predator catcher, but Gideon is not a fake predator catcher, so he made a response to Gideon, August the Duck, or whatever you get to point, saying that he wasn't a fake predator catcher, and also exposing the video that he made, and breaking down the lies and just the theories that don't make sense in his video, basically trying to defend his name. But now August the Duck made another video talking about how Gideon's video is whatever. I don't know. Look, we're just gonna watch it. This drama's been crazy. Let's get to it.
Well, guys, I'm gonna try and keep this one short. You know I'm pretty famous for being able to do that.
Yeah, the video's 14 minutes, buddy. I ain't gonna lie.
Then you probably read the title, which is going to be something like Gideon responded to me. And if you're watching this video, then you probably watched Gideon's response to me. And last one, promise. If you watched that one, then you may or may not have watched my original video on Gideon, where I express an opinion on an ad in his video that didn't really sit right with me. Now, I watched—
Which is like the main highlight of the video, because it's like, why are we talking about an ad? It's not like him doing the predator catches. Like, it feels like he's just nitpicking, bro. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Gideon's response to me. And for the most part, I feel like it's—
And especially when August the Duck had an ad in the video of him talking about Gideon's ad. He was basically trying to talk about how, you feel me, it was not appropriate for the video, how it was kind of like memey. It just wasn't appropriate for the seriousness of the video. But why would you have an ad in your video when you're talking about how ads are bad in his video? It doesn't make sense. It's weird. I don't know. That's what Gideon was really calling out, though.
Pretty good level-headed response. There's a few nitpicks I have, but I'm not really going to be getting into those. This is not going to be like an in-depth review of his response. Don't really think there's a need for that. But after that response went live, me and Gideon started talking on Instagram, and we ended up on a Discord call for 3 hours. And we talked for 3 hours. A lot of it was calm. Some of it was not so calm. But at the end, I think it was a pretty good, productive conversation. I think I changed his mind on some things. He definitely changed
I'm glad they handled this off camera, like mid, and like actually talked it out and settled their differences like mid off camera. I love that they did that. In an era where like content creators try to make everything entertainment and everything like online, I'm glad that they did that, and I'm glad that he's making a video post that after he cooled off and making like a good response video instead of just firing off, just being like immature content creators that just want drama and negativity
on some things. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, because while I'm going to stand by a lot of the stuff I said in that video, I realize some of it was wrong, and I'm not afraid to be wrong. Dare I say, I even kind of like to be wrong. I like to learn new things.
Or
like
at least he's standing 10 toes.
As a human. I'm a grown man. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you. Okay? And I'm going to be telling you a little bit about just that today. But first, some context if you have like no fucking clue what I'm talking about. Earlier this week, I made a video on Gideon, who is like a pretty popular predator catching YouTuber. And I made the video because I saw a clip either on Twitter or Reddit of this advertisement, like this plug he does for basically like a membership service to his content that just didn't really sit right with me. I didn't like the way it was edited. I didn't like the tone. I thought some of the things that were offered in the membership were kind of strange. And given the seriousness of something like catching a predator, I just kind of thought the ad was in poor taste. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys straight up. I'm like not going to back down on any of that. Me and Gideon talked about it. We kind of agreed to disagree. I just don't think the tone of that ad and some of the things that were offered are really appropriate. And I'm just
was that like necessary to make a full video about that? That's my thing. Like, it's weird. Like, why are you making a full video about that though?
Sit here and try and defend myself over and over again. I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people seem to think the same thing I think. It's an ad that's kind of in poor taste. However, since I was talking about one of the biggest predator catching YouTubers, I ended up giving my thoughts on like predator catching content as a whole during the first half or so. And after talking to Gideon for a while and just doing some like thinking on my own, my opinion has changed. Now, in a nutshell, what I said was I don't really think the whole predator catching genre belongs on YouTube. And my reason for thinking that was, one, because I think a lot of guys who are doing it, maybe not like the biggest guys, but just a lot of people who are doing it as copycats almost, are not doing it for the right reasons, and I still think that's true. But my second reason, and a bigger reason, was because I didn't really believe this kind of content did a whole lot to get the predators behind bars and to protect the victims. I was under the impression that these like vigilante stings never go anywhere, and that these guys are doing these stings knowing that nothing legally is really gonna happen to these.
But why? For a lot of predator catchers, that could be true. But you know for Gideon, that's not true. So I don't even know why you would bring that up in the video, I'm going to be honest. Now, look, I do kind of, let me be honest. I do understand why you brought it up in the video. because you was just trying to fatten up the video, trying to get more information into the video. You was trying to just, add some more context. But at the same time, if that doesn't apply to Gideon, I don't know why it was really brought up. Like, that's my thing about it. I don't know.
Guys, and I thought that was kind of strange. However, after looking into the numbers, after talking to Gideon, a lot of these guys end up being convicted. And another thing I ignored, and arguably my biggest mistake when talking about this content, is that I didn't really consider the impact that this has on not only the predator's life, but the community around them. Exposing these guys for what they are, telling their family, their wife, their children, letting them know that they're living with a monster, that people are living near a monster, that's invaluable. So even if these guys weren't getting convicted, which I've learned a lot of them are, the impact to the local community is pretty fucking important, and I just kind of ignored that aspect of it, and that was just a mistake on my end. Pretty stupid fucking thing for me to ignore, and objectively kind of a bad take. However,
but I do like that he said that, though. He could have just, you feel me, smooth pod that, you feel me, didn't even mention that. I do respect him for saying that and calling himself out. I do respect that, bro.
Explain why I said this, because there's definitely a reason, and I just want you guys to kind of understand where I was coming from, okay? The guys who do this predator catching shit will attest to this, that when this first started, like when this first started hitting the internet, when people first started doing these like YouTube stings, local law enforcement and the district attorneys hated it. The evidence was like immediately getting thrown out. The police were not working with these guys. Like, just nothing really was coming from these guys doing these stings because the police wouldn't touch it, and neither would the DA. Every single story I read, every single video I saw on this shit, a few years ago, that was the case. It even got to the point where YouTube implemented a new community guideline where they wouldn't allow it on YouTube, and they still don't. If you don't contact the police or have the police present in these sting videos, YouTube will take down your video, because so many people back then were not even trying to get convictions or trying to get these guys arrested because they knew the police weren't going to touch it. That's how it used to be. So that's kind of where my thought process of like, oh, these guys are doing this knowing that nothing's going to happen came from. Another mistake on my end, I'll admit it. I just assumed that was still the way things are, but they're not. A lot of local law enforcement agencies and district attorney offices these days are willing to work with these guys even if they're doing it on YouTube. Even if it's not officially connected to law enforcement, they are willing to take the evidence that these guys get, and they are using it to arrest these guys, charge them, and convict them. And because
W law enforcement, bro. W progression. I'm not finna lie. W progression.
Of a lack of research, and because I just assumed that things wouldn't change so quickly, I didn't even bother really to check if that was the case. I thought it was the same as it was a few years ago, where these guys were going into it knowing that they weren't going to be able to get these guys arrested. And in my mind, what they were doing by doing that was basically just creating a more careful predator who's not going to get caught in a sting next time. Which again, even in that scenario,
kind of like an EDP. All right, I understand what you're trying to say.
But that's where my mind was. And I'm going to be completely honest, I kind of allowed myself to just almost get in like an internal echo chamber where I was seeing so many people say similar things, where I kind of convinced myself that this kind of content is bad for the children, that these guys were only creating more careful predators, they weren't doing a whole lot to prevent anything happening. And
what actually happened? I feel like it's a little bit of this, but I feel like a little bit of it is you just trying to get some content, bro. Like, let's keep it real. I feel like you just trying to get some content, bro. Let's keep it real. I just feel like you're trying to get some content. You was just trying to get some content. It's cool. At the same time, like, you feel me? I don't think you really convinced yourself. It was more of like you just kind of led with the narrative without actually doing research, which is cool. I've done that. Every single commentary YouTuber on this platform has done that. It's cool. It's whatever. Human. All right? But at the same time, I feel like that's really what happened.
And after like really evaluating that mindset, it's just wrong. Like, even if these guys aren't charged or convicted, which, let's be honest, it does happen, their name and their despicable actions have still been plastered in front of millions of people, and there's a chance that it might have scared them straight and they're not going to try it again. Like, at the end of the day, even if they aren't...
That's why I like how Gideon does it, bro. He makes sure he makes sure he actually publicly embarrasses these people, because they need to be shown that they're monsters, bro. Their communities need to know that they're monsters, bro. Like, it needs to happen.
Convicted, I would rather that a decoy be the victim than an actual child. Not only that, I think I allowed a lot of the bad content in this genre to sort of sway my opinion a lot more than it should. Because like I said in that original video, I think the guys who are doing this, not to like get convictions or actually help children, but to just like lure them to a back alley and beat the shit out of the guy. Like I said, I have no sympathy for the guy getting the shit beat out of him. But when I say people are doing it for the wrong reason, reasons. That's really what I'm talking about. Now, not
Okay.
letting myself
I agree
off
with
the
that.
hook
I
here,
agree
I
with
made
that.
an implication in that original video that I thought Gideon was doing it for the wrong reasons. And after talking to him, I simply don't. Me and him definitely did not see eye to eye about everything. We don't see eye to eye now, don't get me wrong, even though we had a good conversation. We definitely disagree on a lot. But the main thing that I came away with is that this guy is super passionate about what he does. And while, like I said, I'm going to maintain that I don't like the ad, I think it's in poor taste. I think it really hurts the seriousness that his videos generally have otherwise.
That's cool, but like, why are we making a full video about that, bro? Like, I understand that, but like, why are we making a full video about that? Like, you don't have to have an opinion on everything, bro. Like, and I feel like that's a big problem with YouTube right now. Everybody feels like they need to have an opinion on everything, bro. I'm doing it too, doing it right now. But at the same time, certain things, just leave it be. If it's like a good thing going on, why are we critiquing little things about a good thing? And why aren't we just critiquing bad things? Like, I just don't understand that.
Me making the implication that because he had a bad ad, he was doing this for the wrong reasons was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Me and him were talking, and he made a good point. It was something that I hadn't really considered. Look, it's really hard for me to like support the idea of vigilante justice, but protecting children is something that I'm very passionate about, which is why it's so disheartening to see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people call me the worst names imaginable simply because I disagree with a YouTuber you like. I'll talk about that more later though. So when it comes to me not really loving the idea of vigilante justice, those negative feelings are far, far, far outweighed by the positive feelings that I have about these guys getting stopped before they can do anything to an actual child.
August, that's a good
The
take.
sad truth is that a lot of law enforcement agencies are simply just not doing a lot to protect children in this sort of sphere we live in, where every kid is on the internet these days. And the more that I've really started to think about it, the more I've almost kind of started to think that these sorts of groups that do it correctly are almost a necessity. The guys who
That's like why that's what I didn't understand from that video. Why are you saying that this is a bad thing? These type of people, stuff like this, getting predators off the street would not happen as often without people like Gideon, without people like Skeeter Gene, without people like Alex, whoever does these things, it wouldn't happen. Now you got niggas who are predators being scared. They don't even want to text that 14-year-old, bro. It could be a sting operation, bro. You're not even thinking about the other repercussions, bro. Like, fuck it. If I was a predator, I wouldn't be a predator in this environment because I know it's people like Jidion, Skeeter Gene, and people who are on YouTube who are going to expose me and try to catch me and ruin my life. I would be scared to even do it, bro. So, like, them doing this is really a very good thing for society because it doesn't just stop and bring these people off the streets. It also scares other people who have those thoughts to do those type of things, and potentially they could go get help for what the trauma, the demons that they have inside their body or whatever that's going on. So it prevents it too. That's why I don't understand why you was trying to downplay these type of content, bro. This type of content is a good thing. It does nothing but good, especially if they get these people off the street, bro. It's nothing but good content.
In these ways, just have far, far too many avenues to find children and exploit children who don't know any better. And like, police just can't keep up even if they wanted to, which a lot of the times police don't. And that's not just for matters like this, but in general, like, police just can't handle all of this shit. And you know what? If these guys can get these guys behind bars or exposed in front of millions of people, this is not me just trying to like overcorrect. Seriously, I kind of struggle to like really vocalize what my problem with this was. Like I was saying, Gideon made a good point that these videos, this kind of pressure from the public seeing that the police aren't doing anything, it shapes local communities. This affects local elections. And I mean, like, if you are getting handed to you on a silver platter evidence that in your area can be used and you're ignoring it, it's really hard to defend you. Like, Gideon talked to me about some of the cases that he's been on where these guys have admitted things to police unprompted and then nothing is done. Again, not a huge fan of the idea of vigilante justice, but what I hate a lot more is law enforcement and district attorneys, people who are supposed to serve the public and protect the public, sitting on their ass and doing nothing when threats are presented to them, like they do a lot. And because those like law enforcement, I mean, seriously, with like all different kinds.
Yeah, the reason why is because sadly, those law enforcement, those people, those elected officials, they probably on the same type of time too. So they're not trying to arrest people when they be on the same type of time. Bro, that's their brother. Why are they trying to arrest their brother in law?
of crimes, how many times have you heard in your local community or nationally that law enforcement was tipped off about this person, or they knew about them, or they were warned and they did nothing? At some point, it does kind of feel like maybe groups like this stepping in and forcing their hand
It's a good thing.
Needs to happen. Is it ideal?
It needs to happen,
obviously
bro.
not. Ideally, they'd be able to work with law enforcement from the start. But I mean, if these guys are doing it by the book, they're gathering evidence that can be used in courts, they're taking the necessary actions to actually get these guys convicted. I don't really see what my problem was with it, and I don't see what the greater internet's problem seems to be with it either.
W progression, bro. We like to see this. W growth. We like to see this. We like to see this. Growing and admitting you're wrong. We like to see this. W August for this. I'm laughing a lot.
Content where they're just beating them up or doing stupid shit with the predators, yeah, I get that. Again, those are the people doing it for the wrong reasons. But if it's working, if law enforcement offices are accepting it, if the DA's office is accepting it, I don't really think there's room to complain. I know I said I was going to keep this short. I'm not, so I'm just going to roll with it. I want to talk about two more things real quick. One is kind of expanding upon what I mean when I say that people are doing this for the wrong reasons. Obviously, like we talked about, the guys who just lure these people out to beat them up. Again, who cares if a predator gets beat up? But I mean, you have to question why a person is really doing something like that. Are they really trying to protect children, or do they just want to be able to beat somebody up without any consequences?
True.
Which objectively is a weird desire to have. Secondly, I think a lot of guys end up treating this as a joke. Like, I don't know if these guys just sort of become desensitized to it or what it is, but I feel like a lot of the guys who do this, they end up making weird decisions that just leave you kind of scratching your head like, really? This is what you thought was appropriate while you were trying to imprison a predator? Hopefully we don't start another beef with this one. I hope we can kind of all come to like a reasonable conclusion here. Another popular guy who does this is Sqaush, and while I think
August, I don't know if this was the play. I don't know if this was the play. I don't know if this was the play. You feel me? You just patched things up with Gideon. Already going back to back trying to start beef with somebody else. I don't know if that's the play. I don't know if calling somebody else right now is the play. Maybe you should have waited a couple episodes, a couple more videos to do this, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if this was the play.
I think a lot of the times his videos are pretty good. An example of what I'm talking about is the few videos he's made where he sat down with a predator and said, okay, if you beat me at this video game, I won't call the police. And he sat down on a couch and he's played...
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I do kind of agree with that. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, yeah, that is a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna lie, like, you feel me? Trying to play it, like, you feel me? Giving him a get out of jail free card, bro. Now, of course, I don't think he actually, like, lets them free. It's just for entertainment to, you know, wait for the cops or whatever. I don't know. I feel like it's just probably just for entertainment. But at the same time, like, that is a little bit crazy. But at the same time, like, as long as they're getting that predator and putting them in jail, who cares what they do, bro?
Super Smash Bros. Or like Mortal Kombat with a child predator. Now look, I'm pretty fucking certain even if Sqaush lost, he's still calling the police. But stuff like that, like the advertisement that Gideon put in his video, it rubs me the wrong way when you're talking about people who want to have sex with little children. How can you sit
I understand August's point,
like
though.
that?
I understand where August is coming from, but I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad take. I'm not mad at this take at all.
And even entertain them. Like, how can you do that? I don't get that personally. That really rubs me the wrong way. And I think stuff like that is what people are talking about when they say people are just doing this for content. Because yeah, choosing to sit down with a predator and playing a video game with him is a weird thing to do. It really downplays the seriousness of what you're talking about. And I think stuff like that should be okay to say. And that sort of leads me to the final thing I want to talk about here. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but so the people who watched my video or watched like Gideon's response video and heard a guy say stuff like, one of my biggest complaints with predator catching content is that these guys don't get convicted enough, or at least that's what I thought. Or the people who heard me say that I don't like some of the stuff that Gideon is doing, I don't like the advertisement, I think it's in poor taste. To the people who heard that and went to my YouTube comments or my Instagram or my DMs and began to call me a pedophile and a predator, you should be ashamed of yourself.
That's
to
crazy.
Sit there all high and mighty saying the word that...
One thing I hate about YouTube is that when a cult following really rise for a nigga, they'll go to like bash and be negative and send death threats to somebody that they're beefing with, bro. It's never that serious. It's an A and B beef. You shouldn't really be getting yourself involved into it. That's my opinion. I'm not gonna lie.
Gideon does is so important. The work that all these guys does is so important. To act like you care about that and then turn around and call me a pedophile or a predator baselessly just because I don't agree with a YouTuber you like, I feel like if you did that, which a lot of you did, you are not near mature enough to talk about topics like this. I mean, seriously, that is some despicable shit, and if you did that, you're fucked up in the head. To baselessly accuse somebody of being the worst kind of human imaginable just because they have an opinion that you don't agree with, that's shameful. And I think it really shows that maybe you don't care about actual predators getting caught all that much, or you don't care about actual victims of predators all that much. If the word is that easy for you to throw around.
That's a lot of people are just like that though. They just care about content. They don't actually care about the content. They care about being entertained, bro. Because calling August a pedophile is crazy, bro. Like, we should have just throw that word around, bro. That's a serious claim. That's a serious thing. We should just throw that around. I do agree with him on this. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all in the comment section, y'all gotta be a little bit more mature, bro. Like, I understand a lot of these people were probably kids, which is even scarier when you think about it. But at the same time, y'all gotta, like, people gotta be nicer, bro. We gotta be nicer. Now, I will say one thing, August. You did come at his fan base, saying that they're mostly kids and they were immature for liking that meme. So you do have a cross to bear in that situation too. I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, we shouldn't be attacking negativity with more negativity. Attacking with positivity. And I want to say one thing about the situation. I'm very glad they handled this offline mostly. And August just made a video just recapping it. You know, telling the public, okay, this is where we stand on this. We good. Basically ending the beef right here. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest. Let's not attack negativity with more negativity. That just brings more negativity into the world.
I mean, we're talking about people who ruin the lives of the most innocent people on the planet. And because I made a YouTube video you didn't like, for you to call me a predator or a child predator sympathizer, not only should you be ashamed of yourself, you should know you're a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry that you have to go through life possessing zero critical thinking skills. It must be pretty tough for you out there. However,
at the same time, yo, August, you ain't had to come at them like that, bro. You can chill, Brody. You ain't had to say all of that.
With that being said, towards the end of our discussion, Gideon invited me on a predator catch, and you know what? As a person who's criticized them pretty heavily, I think it's only fair that I do my due diligence and actually see the ins and outs of what goes on.
This is how you handle stuff as grown men. This is how you handle situations as grown men. I love to see this, bro. I love to see stuff like this.
Yeah. Don't know how serious Gideon was. Guess we'll figure that out. I'm always willing to learn something new, and for something I've criticized pretty heavily, seems like the best way to learn about it is to just do it. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's really all I had to say today.
W progression for August and Gideon in handling this situation. This is how beefs should be handled. Okay? You get your video, I get my video. We talk about this offline. Handle it cordially as grown men, and then we just post responses telling everybody, yo, hey, put the pitchforks and bows and arrows down. We're not going to war. Relax. Everything is okay. That's how we handle stuff as grown men. I like how this beef was handled, bro. We gotta handle more beefs like this, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Just, you feel me, deaden it before it gets too crazy. I'm not gonna lie. The back and forth, the pretty boy Fredo, DDG, Solo Illuminati, old 2018, 2020 ways of handling beef, that's done. Let's stop that, bro. It's just degenerate. Let's stop that. Let's handle it very cordially and be done with it. Shouts out to Jidion and August. Shout out to Jidion and August the Duck again for handling this beef cordially. We love to see stuff like that, all right? Besides that, my final takes on this, I don't think Jidion's really doing anything wrong. Even if his promo is in poor taste, I don't really care. Like, who cares? Like, we're nitpicking. But I do understand what August is saying with the whole beef. Like, I mean, with the whole poor taste thing. It can be viewed in poor taste. I see exactly what he means. I just don't think it's that big of a deal if you're doing good. Same thing with the Skeeter Gene thing. I don't think him playing a game with the Predator, that is poor taste. I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, I don't really see it that big of an issue when he's doing something good. Look at the positives, not just the negatives. Oftentimes in life, we critique little things that we don't like about things that are good. Stop doing that. Just push the positivity to the top. Leave the negativity. That's what I'll say about that. But besides that, what do y'all think in the comment section about that? If you made it this far, comment down below. Skeeter August Dawn. Skeeter August Dawn. Nobody's going to know what you mean. Nobody going to know what you say. Put a cloud at the end of it. Sky Crew, for real. SC Cloud Well, should we put a SC? Yeah. Then after that, put a hashtag SC cloud emoji. SC cloud emoji. You feel me? Just to show that you're really here, buddy. But anyways, besides that, I appreciate y'all for watching. Let me know what y'all think about this whole situation in the comment section below. And that's it.